That's how you do it. Hi, guys. This is Laura with Stuff I Find Interesting, episode 33, and I'm here to talk very quick about some stuff that I find interesting. I feel like I got the camera too close today, like you're all up in my face and stuff. I'm sorry, guys. Oh, we don't want that. I'm feeling a little salty today, so I may curse and be a little more jovial than usual. I guess I'm just feeling kind of punchy today. You know, you ever get like that? It's probably the spring coming on and then stress and work and, all the stuff that people have to deal with. But, the grand scheme of things, my problems are pretty damn minor. So, I hope everyone's having a good week. And let's dive right in. Irish archaeology. So, last time we were talking about that big ass stone that was in my just opposite my front yard a while ago that I've been fascinating with and was on the Graham Hancock's site. We were looking at dolmens, and here are some dolmens. So we've got this one, and then we've got this one. That one makes sense to me. And we've got this one, and it keeps going, all kinds of this ones. But my point is that let's go from Ireland to the Ural Mountains, which is Scythian territory. And we've got dolmens. Very similar in the way that they're kind of put together. So, like, what are they? What purpose did they serve? Why are they in that particular configuration and not another configuration? Was it just a matter of like the way kids might stack cards? If you give them a deck of cards, they make like a little house out of it. I mean, is that? I'd like to think that our ancestors were smarter than that. But what's also crazy is you could go to Romania and see dolmens just like this. Or you could go to the Bessèges Mountains and see dolmens just like this. So they're kind of everywhere. So it's kind of like a universal thing. And I'm getting a little cockeyed here, right? Let me straighten myself up. Jeez Louise. I'm a mess today. There we go. Okay. We're good, guys. So that's interesting, right? It's just kind of like a worldwide thing, and there's some of these like practically in my backyard. Not literally my backyard because I don't have a backyard, but in the general area in my county, there are definitely a few dolmens for sure. This is just a beautiful picture of a church. I have no idea where it is. I don't even know if it's still standing. You can look for it. But the thing that cracked me up was I was looking for people standing on the roof because in all these old pictures, you always see people standing on the roof. And I didn't see anybody. So I was like, oh, nobody on the roof. But then I went to the next picture and I was like, son of a gun, look at that. If we zoom way in on this thing, we got these little dudes standing on the roof. Although it's probably like, there's like a little raised thing and then it's flat. So it's not, quite that dramatic. But still, they're on the roof. Which is just, in some of these pictures, that's like what you see. It just kind of cracks me up. I'm guessing maybe this is a village of some kind. I'm not really sure. Old Portuguese fort. Maybe they're just encamped outside of it. I'm not really sure. I didn't investigate it. This is the Cliff House Project. So this is nothing but pictures of the Cliff House. There must be like hundreds of pictures, maybe not hundreds, but there's like 50 of them. There's a lot. Let's look at some of them. So the Cliff House is literally a house on a cliff. It had a rough kind of start. I think it burned down in like 1864 or something. They rebuilt it. I think they rebuilt it again. I'll show you a picture of it now. It's very modern looking. But this is the Cliff House. So I don't understand why you wouldn't just set the house back and just give yourself like a patio over the rocks. Why do you have to hang the whole freaking house over the rocks? Like, that makes no sense to me. I don't know. I mean, maybe they're just showing off, like, ooh, look what I could do. So, You can look some more. Those are pictures. And if you look at the top, I scrolled way too far. If you look at the top, it's got tintypes. So let's look at tintypes. Oh, look, it's the Cliff House, but from the other side. Okay, let's go back up. How about slides? Oh, look, it's a slide of the Cliff House. Trade card. Oh, it's trade card of the Cliff House. So you get the idea. Is the Cliff House and the Sutro Baths haunted? If a horror movie tried to capture all of the wild occurrences at and around San Francisco's Cliff House and Sutro Baths over the years, the end result would be utterly preposterous. Not even the overkillers of American Horror Story would try to squeeze apparitions, Satanists, explosions, dead children, secret cemeteries, disastrous fires, mummies, and shipwrecks into a single season. And yet this one tiny corner of San Francisco has seen it all. And there's a cool article about the spooky stuff. This is a great picture of the Cliff House. Very moody. I might actually save that. That's a nice picture. Okay. I was looking at architecture, and I found this is the Museum of Qatar. And the French architect who designed it said, it's not totally crazy. It just seems crazy. And we look at it, and it's kind of like, what is that? Why does it look familiar to me? Here's the artist. He looks very much like you would expect that artist to look like, and you can see the frame's got some crazy design on it. But anyhow, my point being is I looked at this and I said, what does that remind me of? And then I went, aha, desert rose. So a desert rose is a geological formation. Gypsum crystals, I think, particulates in water, they like come together and form little globules, and then they add on to themselves and add on to themselves, and that's why you get all these different sort of channels, a lot like the Gobi agate. If you want to buy one, you could buy one for a cool $2,000, but realistically, I wouldn't recommend paying more than $100. You could get a pretty nice specimen, even under $100. Like look at that one, that's pretty. That one's kind of cool too. They're a little fragile, except for these. These, like, where are they? Like the little balls. Those are tighter and obviously harder to like break up and stuff. Because gypsum, I think on the Mohs hardness is kind of soft. Let me see. Gypsum, Mohs hardness. Yeah, it's a 2. It's kind of soft. So anyhow, let's go to the Mouse Museum. This is the Mouse Museum. We're going to visit Sam and Julia. What is the Mouse Museum? I'm glad you asked. There was this woman who started a dollhouse with mice. Every room is a different delight, and every detail has been thought of and self-created. It is the most amazing freaking thing. I'm in love with it. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people are. I like dioramas. Like this is not a real, is that the real gift shop, or is that the dollhouse? See, it kind of makes you wonder, right? Oh, I guess that's real. See, because those people are people-sized. So, anyhow, the Mouse Museum. You can go if you are in Amsterdam. So you could go partake of the special accoutrements that come with going to Amsterdam. And then you can go bug out at the Mouse Museum. And then you can go get yourself some food. And then maybe ride on a boat. See, there you go. I got you covered. Now, I started looking up Quivira again a little bit. We're going to get to that. We're going to go to Kansas. But I came across these watercolor prints, which I can't do anything with. I can't enlarge. I can't find. They're just... But what are they? What is this? Why did this dude paint all these pictures of Quivira? Maybe it was for a show of some kind? Strange, right? I don't know, just totally a random thing. While I was poking around, I found this. The Douglas County Historical Society in Nebraska is looking for a dynamic executive director. So it's at beautiful Fort Omaha campus of Metropolitan Community College, where it operates the General Cliff House Museum and a separate library. So you would like live and work there and do tours, and man, that sounds freaking awesome. You do need to have some experience, but I bring this up in case anyone out there is like, holy crap, like that's for me. Right? Because we need good people out there keeping this history alive for people and for generations. Let's talk about female samurai. Whoa. Female samurai. 30% of all dead samurai bodies are women. So, like women fought side by side with the men, and they're not really talked about. I feel like in Japanese, like anime and stuff, they're talked about, but not like in American culture. Of course, it's not an American thing, but we're fascinated with all things. Women learn to use naginata, kaiken, and the art of tanto jutsu. Here we have a picture of a woman. One such woman, later known as Empress Jingu, here we see Empress Jingu, used her skills to inspire economic and social change. She was legendarily recognized as the Onna Bugeisha who led an invasion of Korea in 200 AD after her husband was slain in battle. She was the first woman to be featured on a Japanese banknote. And there was this other woman who commanded 1,000 men. She became a nun, maybe. Throughout the following handful of centuries, other Onna Bushida rose to legendary status. I apologize if I'm saying that wrong. Besides Empress Jingu and Tomo Gozen, the most famous were Hojo Masako and Nakano Takeko. Hojo Masako was the wife of a military dictator who became a nun after her husband died, but continued to wield such power that she was not known as the nun shogun. Nakano Takeko, meanwhile, lived much more recently, a veteran of civil war in Japan in the 1800s, ran a martial arts school for women when she wasn't slaying bathhouse peeping toms. She famously asked her sister to behead her so the enemy could not take her body as a trophy after she was fatally wounded in battle, and a monument was built upon the site where her head was buried. This is true. You can look this all up. It's cool stuff, right? So here's a little bit more that you can read about what they did, and it just a really interesting time in history. We've got some facts. Many of them you probably already know, but the one I wanted to mention was their main weapon was the naginata. So it was a weapon specifically designed for Japanese female warriors. So my Christmas list has already begun for next year. Because of climate change, the whales are moving. And because the whales are moving, whale watching is popping up in areas that didn't previously have whale watching. And what's happening is it's a new industry that is completely currently unregulated. And what's happening is people are jumping into the water with the whales. The boats are getting too close to the whales. They're feeding them, like bad stuff. It goes on and on and on. Like these tourists are getting on these boats and just like, look at this guy. I mean, I'm all for getting in the water with creatures, right? But know what the fuck you're doing. Like, what even is that? I don't know. Maybe those guys do know what they're doing. But when I hear snorkeling tourists, it doesn't give me much, And look, this guy's got like, yeah, no. So this particular publication is talking about, there's a podcast you can listen to that talks about this, and it's juxtaposed against what's going on with our climate and sort of in the world. Worried about sea level rise? Look for the lichens, man. So lichens are incredibly sensitive to their environment, and they grow very slowly. And they're actually two kind of organisms in one. And scientists now realize that they can tell by looking at rocks how the water has risen and fallen over a very long period of time. They can say, oh, that lichen's very new. So that spot must get a lot of flooding or a lot of salt water, and they know that that's a spot that gets more action. Whereas this other spot just might have this ancient lichen on it, and and they're like, okay, well, the water doesn't come back here. So one of the great infrastructure challenges of the next few decades is to figure out which coastal sites should be abandoned and which can be saved. Now, that might seem overly harsh, but waters are rising. It doesn't matter why. And, there are a lot of money is going to have to go towards saving portions of the coast, and other parts will probably have to be sacrificed. And this is saying that lichens can help with that process. You'll be liking this article. They are amazing. A lichen is a fungus and an algae that have taken a liking to each other. They are two organisms in one package, composite organisms, a fungus and usually an alga. If you had been reading about them a few decades ago, they would have been classified as non-flowering members of the plant kingdom in their own taxonomic division. Today they're classified in the fungus family. Let's look at that. I love lichen. Where I wait for the bus, which is like kind of inner city-ish. Like, it's not like, I'm like, it's all concrete and stuff. Well, there's a tree next to me when I wait for the bus, and his name is Todd. That's what I call him. And he has lichen on him. I'll have to take a picture and show you. Not quite this showy, though. It's not showy. Todd doesn't have showy lichen. It's a little more subdued. One day, this homeless guy came over. And he started talking to the tree, And so I look at the guy and I go, the tree's name is Todd. And the guy was like, right on. And he starts talking to Todd. And I'm like, cool, totally harmless. Although you got to be careful of people like that, because if they're on something and or mentally ill, they can change very quickly. So you have to be a little wary. Okay, so we are closing in on Conspiracy Land, and this is going to be quick because I haven't really put this all together yet. But before I do, I just want to let you know that you can become a Druid if you want to, and I have posted some links on how you can become a Druid. Now, here's a post on Reddit, and I read the whole thing, and then I realized it's for a video game, and it's not for real life. So then I found a site that says real life, how you can, well, in America. If you're in another country, you probably have to look for your chapter. I don't know. I think being a Druid probably vibes with a lot of my beliefs. Although Druids originally started out as kind of barbaric, might have even partaken in human sacrifice, lived in a very raw kind of way. So over time, the image of them and their self-image has softened and become more, I don't know, Arthurian, right, or something. This is stolenhistory.net. This is a conspiracy site. But within conspiracy, there is truth. And I really like this guy a lot. He's very thorough in what he puts out. And he tries to be very careful in how he words things. There's just an attentiveness to language that you don't normally see that I appreciate as an English teacher. English teacher-ish. I'm a program coordinator, so adjacent. English teacher adjacent. So this is Coronados Trail. Coronado was a Spanish guy, and he was a conquistador, which is one of my all-time favorite words. If I'm feeling sad sometimes, I'll just say conquistador in my head, and I instantly feel better, I swear to God. So Quivira, right? We've been talking about Quivira, the city of gold, and Cibola, and all those other things. Here's a map. Look, it's like on the freaking coast. Here's another map. It's on the coast. Another map on the coast. And so on and so forth. So far in the maps that we've looked at of Quivira that I have presented to you, there have been some in New Mexico, and there have now been some that are closer to the coast, more like the Pacific Northwest. So, but going further, when you start to Google this stuff, look for the the literature about it, you come across some wild things. Like there was a king in supposedly in this part of the world. And what's even crazier is in this from 1567. No, wait, 1856. I don't know if this is okay. Yeah, it's Coronado's expedition, but it's being talked about by someone else. So in a way, it's more contemporary, but also older. But the stuff that they're referring to is they're talking about the city of Cibola and Quivira, and they mention Tartary, and that the king of Quivira was named Tartarax. And there's a whole thing about Tartarax and how he has this big beard and blah blah blah, and he's in his tent. And there's lots of waters and grass and plums and mulberries. And there's this king just like drinking from his gold cup, looking at his riches. So Coronado went a little gold mad and went looking for this place and didn't find it. And there's some debate as to whether or not the peoples that talked about it lied. Were the map makers delusional? So when he found Quivira, this is what he found. He found structures like this. He found people living in a very simple manner in pueblos that are literally made out of mud brick. So he was kind of like, yeah, no, which is why he played up the whole nuts and melons thing. But that's further east because he kept going, because he was like, well, this isn't the gold. Let me look a little bit more. So, what was I looking at here? Oh, this is the guy who lied, and it talks a little bit about them. And, I had downloaded it, but then it kicked me out. You can probably get it if you try hard enough, or you can message me. I'll get it for you. But it talks about this particular gentleman who talked about the gold to Coronado. Now, I think there were like 20 different tribes in this particular area or something, so communication was very hard. You had American speaking, English speaking, no, they were Spanish speaking peoples. The communication was very difficult, so the guy could have been talking about something else completely. Who knows, right? This is some hard science, the artifacts from Gran Quivira. And the part that I want to point out is, let's see. No, that's not what I wanted to look for. Our knowledge of the Southwest and the ruins of associated Aboriginal dwellings are scanty. So they're talking about, the part that I wanted to emphasize is that they're talking about how there's a culture on a culture, right? Like Coronado went to Quivira and there was nothing there, but maybe there was something there before. There had to be something at one time. Maybe there was just one random guy who went and he like got all the chicks and he ate all the good food and he had such a wonderful time and he talked about it to all his friends and it got blown up like a game of telephone. Next thing you know, everybody wants to go there. This is more archaeology. And this guy is saying that he thinks that Coronado got it wrong, that there was a lack of communication, and that he was on a wild goose chase, and that there is a Quivira, and that the Quivira is in Kansas. So I start to laugh. I'm like, what? Quivira's in Kansas? Like that's ridiculous. But then archaeologists explore a rural field in Kansas and a lost city emerges. This is the lost city of Etzanoa, supposedly, home to perhaps 20,000 people between 1450 and 1700. It was the second largest ancient settlement that we know of in the country after Cahokia in Illinois. Random field. Whole ass city. There's more out there. There's got to be more out there. There's just, So, believe it or not, we're at the end. We're going to look at portraits of people while we listen to some music and I take you out. I hope everybody has a good Friday. I personally just kind of want to get it over with. It's been a tough week. But you reframe, you repurpose, and you move forward as best you can. Or you hang on. So. I like that outfit. All right, guys.